everybody, and welcome all of you to Monster Hunter Wilds. The beta is officially here for everybody, and I wanted to get out a video that should maybe make your experience a little bit easier. There's going to be some settings in the actual settings screen that you're going to want to change to make things feel a little bit better, or that you just want to try and see if it feels better for you. There's also some things just in the game that might be really nice to know to also make your experience better. So the whole goal of this video is to just give you some very small, very easy tips so that you can fully enjoy the beta. Maybe find out some stuff that you didn't already know. So the first thing we're going to do is in the settings. So what you're going to want to do is open the settings before you even make your character, especially if you are on console. Because if you are on console, either PlayStation or Xbox, you can go into the display settings and it's going to have an option called graphic setting. This is going to allow you to change between prioritize frame rate and prioritize, of course, graphics. You can also turn on 120 hertz output if you can support that. Now, I would recommend checking out the game in graphics mode just to see what it looks like, because it does look a lot better on console in graphics mode, but I did find it more enjoyable to play in performance mode. So if you're just wondering, how the hell do I get higher than 30 FPS? It's in the main menu right at the beginning of the game. You cannot change the setting when you've already loaded into the game. So just keep that in mind. That's where you're going to find it. Now, moving into some other stuff. Let's start right out the gate with damage numbers. This is going to be a personal preference thing, but if you are someone who wants to know exactly how much damage you are doing, you can change the display of damage numbers to also include decimals. So you might have a move that does 6.7 damage, and you might have a move that does 6.9 damage. This will allow you to tell which one is actually doing more damage, whereas if you didn't have that on, you wouldn't really know. If you do end up wanting to hide your helmet because you want to see your hunter's face all the time, this is also under the game settings on page 3, and this is going to allow you to, of course, hide your head armor if you want to do that. Now, an option that I do really recommend, at least for the beta when we cannot customize our secrets, is change the hide other players' secret setting to on. The reason for this is because in the town area, there can be 16 hunters, 16 palicos, and 16 secrets. So if you are having any issues with performance, I noticed this on performance mode on PS5. As soon as I got to the camp and all of those things were loading, my game looked like ass because it was trying to keep a consistent frame rate whilst also loading all of these things. So I would just go ahead and hide that so that you don't have to worry about that. Another secret option that I really like changing is Secret Auto Explore. I like having this to off. So what this basically does is it's auto set to on, and it makes Secret kind of always move no matter what, whether you have something selected or whether you don't. It's just always gonna move. I like being able to feel like I have a bit more control over the Secret, so he's not exploring if we're not looking for something, because sometimes I just want to go walk around and see what's going on. Sometimes I want to stop and just take in the environment. So I turned this to off. This does not take away your ability to set Secret to auto go. Like when you select a target and you make it auto go, it will still do that. It's just not going to auto explore when you don't have anything selected. So I really liked changing this to off. This is one of those settings where you can, of course, see if you like it, see what you think about it, see what you like about it, see if you don't like it. But I personally much preferred it with Secret Auto Explore off. Now into the support hunter settings. These are actually really interesting. So what this allows you to do is really change the way support hunters work for you. So if you are someone who you want to be getting all of the mounting, you want to be doing all the power clashing, you want to be doing all the offset attacks, you can change them to never ever do it. This is a really nice way, so if you do want to play with a little bit of help from some hunters, but you still want to be the main character, you want to be doing all the mounts, you want to be doing all the power clashes, turn all of this off, and then I'll show you after this how to only have NPC hunters and not real people. And then you can change that so that you get to be the main character, but you still have a little bit of help. Now, to change your hunting settings in general, you can go to Alma or any kind of quest settings and go to post join quest. This is going to open a settings menu for you where you can really change how your quests are going to go. So this is also a really important thing that you might want to know in order to play by yourself. So this is auto set to 4 people. So every time you make a quest, whether you're out in the world, whether you choose to do it from Alma, you are going to have 4 people potentially being able to join you. So if you do want to be solo, you can change that to 1. But also, this setting allows you to only have support hunters or only other players or a mix. So like we said, if you do want to have a little bit of help, but you want to remain the main character, you can do only support hunters. Obviously, you would change this to more than 1 person. And then when you fire off the SOS flare, it's going to bring in support hunters who you can fully adjust everything that they do. Now onto the controls section. A lot of this is obviously going to depend on what feels best for you, but I do highly recommend that you turn off auto sheath. This is because sometimes your hunter just puts the weapon away when you don't want them to put the weapon away. So this is going to stop that from happening. This still allows you to sprint in order to put the weapon away. You can press R1, you can also press square, but it's not going to have your character auto put it away. You have full control over it, and I definitely prefer to have full control over it. Another setting that I've seen people really like to change, which again is a personal preference thing, but I do recommend trying this if you're finding it somewhat difficult to use your items, you can change your item use controls. So on default, it's type 1, where you hover over it in your item bar or your radial menu and you release your right stick, and then that will make the action happen. You can change it to where you press it. Some people like this because it feels like you just have more control over when you're using it. So this is another thing that I do recommend trying if you are finding it difficult to use items. Now, focus mode. Focus mode is a huge part of Monster Hunter Wilds. It's a new thing added and it's very important. For melee weapons, I recommend that you turn this to toggle. This is going to make it to where you just have to press L2 once, and then you can go back to your regular hand position of however you normally hold the controller. You don't have to worry about holding it down to be in focus mode. And there's going to be some weapons, like the insect glaive, for example, that you are going to be fighting in focus mode a lot more, because with the insect glaive, when you're in focus mode, your kinsect attacks with you and will auto gather buffs and bring them back to you. Whereas if you have it on hold, it's going to feel a little bit awkward to play like that. So I highly recommend changing it to toggle mode if you're using a melee weapon. I do think that holding is better for ranged weapons just because it feels more natural to hold focus mode and aim like that. But definitely try out toggle for melee weapons. I think that's going to make it feel a lot better for you. And there's actually a setting for that. So if you turn on advanced aim focus mode controls, you can have melee weapons be toggle, and you can have ranged weapons hold, which is perfect. Highly recommend that. Now, sacred manual controls is another thing you maybe want to change. This is totally a feels thing, but this makes it to where it feels more similar to hunter controls with making your sacred move faster. So I would recommend, again, just giving this a try and seeing which one you prefer. Instead of pressing R1 to increase the speed and R2 decreases the speed, you can just use your left stick. You just use your left stick, you tilt it as far as you want based on how fast you want to go. Makes it feel a little bit more simple. The last thing for the controls settings is if you are playing on PC and you are using a controller, the third page of the options for controls is where you're going to change how your buttons look. So you have both the colored options and you have the black and white options. I'm using a PS5 controller on PC, and I do prefer having the colored options because it's just a little bit easier to recognize what those buttons are if they're color-coded for my brain. Camera is where you're going to find all of your speed settings, so this is absolutely a personal preference thing, but there are a few things in here that I would recommend taking a look at. The first thing is the camera distance zoom. This is going to make your field of view a little bit wider. So definitely give that a try. Turn it all the way up because why not? You can see more around you, and I think it generally feels better. Now, the other settings that I recommend taking a look at is camera shake and ambient camera sway. This is actually a setting in the accessibility settings under motion sickness reduction. So this can change a bunch of things that maybe you would prefer to have off, even if you don't have motion sickness. For example, I don't love camera shake. I don't love camera sway. So I kind of do enable this, and it makes it to where all of these things are in a much better place for my personal enjoyment. I generally don't like cameras auto centering for me. I like to have control over that. So this setting is just something you might want to check out. Again, try it out and see what you think, but I don't love camera shake and I don't love camera sway, so the motion sickness reduction changes are actually really good for me. And we also get to get rid of motion blur, which is always a good thing. Another one that I turn off, again, I'm someone who just likes to have control of my game. Focus camera is auto enabled. It locks the camera onto a targeted monster. If I want to lock onto a monster, I'm gonna lock onto a monster myself, and I would prefer to have control over that. So I personally disable this. I would say keep it enabled and see how you feel about it. But if you feel like you're fighting the camera, turn that motherfucker off. If you ever feel like you're fighting with it, turn it off. So that is it for the settings. Now there's something that I want you to know about when you're running around with Sacred. So what you can do, if you look at the left-hand side of my screen, you'll see that there's a flash bug on the screen and there's an herb on the screen. Now, I can individually point my camera at them with my right stick, or your mouse, of course. But if you don't want to do that and you're moving really quickly through the terrain, you can have Sacred be on auto mode and you can just hold down the left trigger. And then you can use your D-pad up or down to grab different things. So as you can see, I'm not moving my camera at all. I'm just using the aiming with the left trigger and I'm picking it up. So let me show you how this works when you're around a lot of things that you can pick up. We're gonna auto target this thunderbug and we're gonna go there and I'll show you what I mean. So when I'm running with Sacred, I'll just hold left trigger the whole time and I'll just go through and pick up things that I want. It makes it so much easier to pick things up. You can pull flash flies, you can grab your wiggly, you can do it all while you're running. And that way you don't have to be doing this as you're running around and you're like, oh God, I missed the parachute, oh Jesus. You can just have your Sacred go and you can hold down D-pad and you can pick it up. It makes it a lot easier to pick up everything if you're not having to manually look at everything on your screen. Another thing that I recommend that you do is you go to Kunafa Village and you pick up some cheese. So Kunafa Village is the main village where all of the local people live, and this is where you can find it. It's like right in the middle of the map, and you can fast travel from here to here right away. And if you compare it to where the base camp is, here's the base camp. Across to the right, almost directly, is Kunafa Village. Now, there's going to be a character called Yasai, which you will remember from the beginning of the game. And if you talk to him, you will be able to pick up some cheese, and you will actually be able to cook with it. Now, not only is it great to just have cheese, but it also gives you Defender Meal Low. So sometimes this decreases the damage you will take. So if you are having any issues with maybe taking on Rei Dao, you want a little bit more defense, you can throw on the Kunafa cheese. And man, it's worth it just to see the animation in general, but it's a pretty handy skill to have. When I'm using other weapons that aren't so stamina intensive, like the bow, I will tend to just put the cheese on because it looked good and I don't mind taking a little bit less damage. Now, an item that can be really helpful in the beta due to all animals being able to be trapped is the Tranq bomb. Now, they don't automatically give you Tranq bombs, so you are going to have to make your own Tranq bombs. You're going to be making these with sleep herbs and parashrooms. And if you don't know how to trap monsters because this is your first time, you're going to take Tranq bombs with you and also these things called traps. You throw down 2 Tranq bombs on the animal and then you trap them. And that is how you will end the hunt, via a trap. Now, you can only trap them when they are weak, so make sure to look out for the skull icon on your mini-map to do that. Now, if you're ever struggling to find where you can find materials, you can actually bring up the map. So we're going to pull out the map here and go to Detailed Settings, and we're going to go to Filter Icons. You can change this to Gathering, And this is going to show you where all of those things are. Now, there is only one sleep herb on the map from what I can tell. So you're going to have to just pick up this one sleep herb to keep making Tranq bombs. But luckily there are some more parish rooms on the map, so you can go to different places and do that. But it doesn't take too long for it to recharge. If you do want to use a bunch of traps in your beta time, just keep picking up sleep herbs. Luckily, you do have that handy dandy timer, so you can know when to pick it back up. Now, the final thing that I want to point out is nothing too crazy, but it's just a nice thing to be able to experience in the beta. So if you go to the area that I'm at right now, it's close to 15 if you want to find that on the map. There's going to be this underwater area where you can kind of experience swimming. And swimming is a little bit different in Wilds as it was to World. You are still kind of on rails, but you get to pick up things in the water. So it's a little bit more of an enjoyable experience. The way that you're going to find this area is it is on the bottom level of the map. Look for 14 or 15, whichever one you see first, because you can enter either way, and you can come into this area. This is also an area where you can see snow, which I think is the only place on the map where you can see snow in the desert, which makes sense that there wouldn't be a ton of snow. But you can experience diving into the water. You can aim your slinger. You can pick up stuff in here. So it's a really cool experience. You can also fish. So if you do want to experience some more of the kind of endemic life in the game, you can come to this location. It's a really nice place to see some pretty unique fish that will refuse to let me fish them. But you can try out the fishing system, the swimming system, and try your luck at getting them to bite, which they never freaking do. I think I'm a bad fisherman. If you are a bad fisherman like me, you just do that. You can capture them with your capture net. It's also a really cute place to set up camp. I don't think I have... And yeah, I can't set up any more camps, but this is a really cute place to set up camp if you want to just have a bit of downtime. It's a very safe place because it's in a cave in the middle of nowhere, but it can be a really nice place to hang out. So I think that is going to do it for my little tips about the beta. Just some few things that you can change with the settings, that you can experience in the world that might make your life a little bit easier. Please let me know if you have anything that you think you would really like people to know. So in the comment section, people can go to the comment section and find out a wealth of information. I am working on my ultimate bow guide. This is going to be the bow guide of all bow guides. So I am working on that. I think that should be good tomorrow morning, if all goes well today with capturing and testing everything I want to test. If you want to hang out with me while I'm playing Monster Hunter Wilds, ask some questions, or just let me know your experience, because I would love to hear about it. We're streaming it on Twitch all day, every day, constantly, as much as I possibly can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.